Today I'll be trying to get 3 wings with the Heavy Splatling, the first kit of the Splatling and the final Splatling weapon, I believe, unless I've forgotten something. I'm not very good at remembering things. This is called the Heavy Splatling, but it's not the heaviest Splatling, nor is it the longest ranged Splatling. It's kind of this weird middle ground between midline and backline. While yes, it has lots of range comparable to like the Splat Charger or the Jet Squelcher, it does fall short compared to the longer ranged weapons like the Hydra or the E-Liter that have very long range, and I believe maybe even the Ballpoint has slightly more range. However, I could be wrong on that. Things may have changed. The weapon itself has a bit of trouble actually dealing with chargers, as is normal for Splatlings. Your sub-weapon is a Sprinkler, which not terrible on a Splatling. It acts independently of your weapon, which you're having to charge anyway, so it does have some synergy there, and it will paint a little bit, though I don't find that the main weapon itself has trouble painting too much. Obviously, it's not going to be being an arrow spray, at the very least in output. However, you do paint a lot farther than an arrow spray, most certainly. With that, you'll be getting a lot of specials as well, and your special is the Wave Breaker. This one also has some synergy. While it's not great at doing anything to longer ranged opponents, it can be thrown, and the general distance you can throw it goes really well with the main weapon's range, especially if you're up on a platform or something. That way you can either force people to jump, making them easier targets, locate them, deal some chip damage to them, or what have you. Especially that initial throw that will mark them really helps you out in the long run on aiming at, enemies that are kind of lurking or whatnot. I'm not particularly good at using it. I think you probably already know that, though. And like I said before, the main problem with the weapon is that it just doesn't have too much to actually deal with backlines, so you're having to rely on your teammates to do that, unless the map cover and design does allow for you to kind of sneak up on people. Then you can use your range to that. However, for the most part, and it's kind of a notorious thing in Splatoon 3, there's not many maps like that. So in general, you'll just be kind of keeping the line away from the chargers and trying to take out anyone who's overextending into your range that isn't a charger, and if they are, you want to try to blindside them if they have overextended. Either way, the goal is 3 wins, and if we get 3 in a row without any losses, we'll go for a 4th win. See you in the first match. Alright, match number 1. Only weapon I think we're going to have to worry too much about, at the very least being one-shotted at long range, is the Tri-Stringer. The other weapons I will have to, respect, obviously, but I can kind of play around them a little bit better. The Jet's the only one that kind of matches me in range. I probably should not be up that close. At the very least, get a trade. Yeah, with everyone else being so far back, I really want to have them in front. I've been playing the weapon maybe a bit slow compared to what you would want to. It really is just kind of a midline, backline hybrid. Okay, I think he's trying to play sneakily there. It didn't really work out that well for him. But in general, where is everyone? I am the only one up front. That's not good. You don't want that. I'm not used to this. But in general, I just do like to paint. Try to stay outside of the range of the opponents, just depending on who's actually up front. So if there are chargers on the team, you're going to watch out and try to stay out of their range and stuff. And obviously, this is probably not the most efficient way to play the weapon. I'm going to get off tower real quick since we already have a bunch on it, but I am going to try to paint, move around since you do actually paint fairly well. And I'll also say this, the weapon, I believe, got a buff recently, and it does feel a lot better to play than what I remember it being. The only problem I really feel with the weapon now is just the RNG kind of being all over the place. And if you're jumping a lot, it's kind of to be expected. I do have 3 subs of Intensify, so that does offset it a small amount, but not too much. I think I want to just pressure the tower here. That is 2 people down to the Zuka. That's not great, but pressuring the tower and trying to make sure our teammates have paint to move around in front of me is going to be my main goal, and then just picking off anyone who I do outrange and trying to maybe keep a firefight going with someone who I don't. And that means I will be back. I do have a very hard time actually aiming at people rushing at me. Just kind of a panic response, I guess. And normally not that way, but again, I've not played the game in quite a while, so it does take a bit of getting used to. Even after practicing and such, there's just a lot of muscle memory stuff that you gotta relearn if you're playing another game for a very long time. And I've been getting it a little bit more. I've been feeling a little bit more confident in my ability to control the game at the very least slightly. But even still, I'm not really back up to the way I used to be. got this charger over here. I'm going to try to just get some paint down and pressure. Like I said before, I think that's where I'm going to be the most useful. Once they start backing up for my aggressive teammates, then I'm going to try to follow them up and keep the pressure kind of holding them back. Problem is I do have to keep an eye out for flanks. And the kit isn't particularly great for flanks other than the wave breaker kind of being some sort of location sometimes and just, you know, making people jump, which is nice. But your sub's more or less just kind of there. It's not the worst sub in the world for a Splatling, but I could think of maybe some better ones. But I do need to try to use it a little bit. I'm going to try to back up here since we are being pressed. Really got to get in control at some point here, so I want to maybe try to be more aggressive since they can be fairly lax right now since all they're doing is defending. I don't think the jet actually outranges me. I think we're equal. Now, obviously, that's if I have a full charge. If I don't have a full charge, then no. I've got to get far away from this or he could snipe me. We get right back over here. We lose our friend, but that's okay. I'm surprised my sprinkler's still standing at all. Okay, very close to getting him. We get him. I assume you're going to either climb the tower or the right. I'm going to cover the right. It was right, but I did not have enough ink. I do have a main of Ink Saver main. It's fine. You may trade it out for a main of Run Speed Up. I did find myself running out of ink a lot more than I would have liked, which obviously, you know, there's some other ways to mitigate that other than just slapping the sub of Main Saver. But I thought that would be a good idea since I don't really feel too much from the extra main of Run Speed that I was using. And if I don't really feel too much from this either, then I would rather just switch to Stealth Jump because that also has Quick Jump or Quick Super Jump, if I can remember what it's called. I don't see us winning this, but I'm going to try to, at the very least, practice a little bit with actually defending. That was a triple, wasn't it? I do not like Zuka. It's so hard to play around. It is, especially at range. It's very similar to a charger in that regard because it just kind of comes out really quickly and there's not really much you can do other than try to get the guy before he charges it up. And again, I'm playing a little bit more lax than you probably should be. But, there are also some other issues sometimes as well. I'm dead. So many specials going off right there. So, yeah, I don't think we're going to win this, but I think we did an okay job at the very least at defending a little bit and trying to hold our own even when our teammates aren't, you know, immediately up front. I think it is just maybe the aggression because we were actually holding mid for a decent amount of time there. Just the two pushes we lost pretty badly. And we do just all need to kind of shower the tower here. Why is that not hitting at all? Okay, we're good. Jet, they're going to just kind of poke at range there. So unless we get everyone on tower, I'm not sure. They have a lot of AoE and stuff and pinpoint stuff as well. So yeah, I didn't see that going very far. But as long as we get on the ball at defending, at the start of the match especially, I think we'll have a better time. All right, match number 2, somewhat similar to last time with the Tri-Stringer at the very least and the mid-range Splatling, but the other two weapons are very short-ranged. So as long as I'm keeping an eye on their mid-ranged opponents, and even then I can outrange them, so I can be a bit more aggressive this match, thankfully. As long as I don't, you know, let myself get rushed and stuff. That's another important thing I want to do is just keep the path to me painted. That way they can't just swim up to me and, you know, take me out. I don't really have to worry about that too much, though. The one weapon that could do that at mid-range is having to charge anyways. So I think as long as we cover our bases, we should be good. I do want to actually get some advantage here whenever they start pressing forward. Try to cover this side. Not really covering great positions, I guess. All right, cover this with paint at the very least. Do I want to ride tower? Probably would not be a bad idea. However, I do want to kind of be able to match the speed of the game if I have to. Like that. If I were up on tower, that would have been a bit more difficult. Okay, where did that come from? Okay, from above. I'm gonna jump to this beacon. I'm not sure if it's the best idea. I have a feeling this is another one of those weapons that I'm just gonna have a hard time actually focusing on using if I'm rambling too much. So I'll maybe try to be quiet and just commentate or react to stuff, I guess. I don't know, because again, I'm not an expert on this weapon, so any play tips, take them with a grain of salt. I'm just saying what has worked so far, but things can be inconsistent depending on the match. See this guy over here. He's backed up pretty far though, so I'm just going to keep painting. There's a bomb. That means there's splatter shots over here. It's gone now. He's just kind of walking towards me, so I'm going to keep him at bay. I really want people in front of me. I think they took someone out back here, which is good. So now they're going to start moving forward. Someone's still over here? I guess I can try to help find stuff. All right, stay away from this. He really took some time to get his shot out. He certainly would have lost that if I had actually poked behind the corner there, but I did not. Doesn't really matter, though. He didn't take me out with it at the very least. I'd like to maybe move up to this right side, but I really just don't feel safe doing it. And the tri-stringer is still doing things. I want to help out in fights. That's my main goal here. The problem is it's just very awkward sometimes because of how I'm playing. So maybe I just want to try to be more aggressive. All right, that's unfortunate, but it happens. Yeah, not really much happened there. Just lots of deaths. I don't think we're gonna win this. I feel like, okay, when we were in control, we struggled to do anything, and when we weren't in control, we kind of just kept jumping in there. Problem was I was probably playing too close, but as soon as I caught eye of the tri-stringer, I completely neglected the heavy edit, which was actually in range, and I wasn't paying attention to that. Started feeding there because I was panicking. Didn't go very well, but hopefully we can have a better time next time. All right, match number 3, looking at Hydra and Jet Squelcher at range, and the Splatbrella. I do not remember how Splatlings fare against those. I could see it going either way. I want to say probably decently, though, because of the fast fire rate. We'll find out. And there's also just kind of a splash in the middle of it. This is not going great, and I'm not really the biggest fan of this map because it is just a long corridor. I do like to play this a little more mid-range than the map really provides for you to do. So you got to be really careful with it, especially against something like the Hydra. The Hydra isn't just a straight downgrade, though, in terms of matchup compared to like a Charger, because you're more mobile than it is. So you can actually sneak up on it occasionally, depending on how the map is laid out. Obviously, you know, sometimes you just can't, but it's not the end of the world because they have a very long charge time if they actually want to make use of their good range and good damage. I'm going to try to get this over here. I think he's picking to rush me. I may die here. I'm going to go ahead and hold him off there. That's why I played behind that cover, or at least around it. That way I could duck in under it if I needed to. That's what I was trying to buy time with. He can't drop his shield until I'm done firing, and I did run out of ink, so that bought me less time than I would have hoped to have had, but the interaction worked out fairly well at the very least. I'm the only one up, so I do need to start kind of moving backwards here. He's looking at me. My teammate can take him out. That's good. Stay up here. I've hit in a couple of shots on the jet. I do have range advantage since I have the height advantage. I'm going to go down here and actually heal though. That's the splash up here. No, it may be both of them because there have been multiple bombs thrown. Go ahead and throw this. Try not to die. I ran right into the wall, unfortunately. Try to get this guy, cover his shield at the very least, and a bunch of ink. And we actually take him out, thankfully. Comes the Booyah Bomb. I think he's probably trying to aim for me. Don't know if that's the most useful thing to do because I'm useless sometimes, but it did miss. And I guess he actually was trying to aim for my teammate as well up on the platform, so it was kind of double value at the very least. We have a lot of paint coverage as well, so I'm going to try to get up to a point where I can just kind of station. I do have someone AFKing, but I don't really think I'm going to worry too much about that. Yeah, he's a little upset maybe. Other than that, or he has more important things to do like last time. There we go, get him. And I'm not used to the weapons range itself either, so I'm going to play some stuff. Like, I'm kind of surprised that even reached there. I really am just kind of filling it out sometimes in these matchups, and sometimes it goes well like that, and sometimes it also doesn't go well. Especially if I try to walk forward, because walking forward, while great sometimes if you outrange them, can also be bad if someone just kind of pokes out and then starts shooting at you and hitting you. Okay, let's use the slope as cover. I don't know how I feel about this. Yeah, just back up. Make sure you're playing it safe. This is the ideal scenario where our teammates are just completely in front of us and we can help them pick people off. And that'll allow us to move forward. I'm going to try to be annoying with this over here and throw my sprinkler. Maybe not the most effective, but it is going to be annoying for them at the very least. And there we go. There's our first win. That is the ideal situation when we're trying to do things. I just can't really facilitate it too well because I'm not that good. All right, match number 4. We have the E-Leader, surprisingly. So our team is maybe a bit more passive this would be, where I would want to try to be more mid-ranged in my approach to stuff since we already have a backline weapon. However, that does not mean I'm just going to throw all caution to the wind and just, you know, try to slay stuff. Whatever. The only weapon that does match me in range is, once again, the Jet Squelcher. There's actually quite a few of those. Nautilus is not something to scoff at, neither are the other two weapons. Paintbrush was buffed, and then Tri-Slosher is, as always, Tri-Slosher. If he gets the jump on you, you're in bad time land. Whatever that means. I try to catch him. This is dangerous, but I can actually take this position, which will be nice. Just want to keep an eye on this Nautilus. He's the scariest thing, as long as we're not being blindsided. All right, good job. Jump up here, try to get a long view here. That way I can just kind of support, as per usual. This charge going. Have the Tri-Slosher just kind of jumping around. Cover the routes to the tower at the very least. I am out of ink here, but I do want to get this full charge going and try to, at the very least, be somewhat aggressive. Like last time, whoever has the height advantage has the range advantage there, so I'm not going to pick a fight with that Jet Squelcher. Have this. I don't know if that gets deleted. We'll see. It does not. That's fine, though. Was just definitely too close there, especially for that, but hopefully our wave breaker does something. I maybe should have just saved that and started backing up, but I wasn't paying attention to how many people we had alive at the time, which was my bad. Very nice. Kind of overwhelmed him at different angles with the vacuum. I am going to jump on here because he's just sitting. Try to overwhelm him with our teammates if I can hit a single shot, but I can't, so I'm just kind of worthless. But at the very least, I've maybe pinned him with some paint, so that works. Oh, no, that was bad. Way too close to the Tri-Slosher there. I was just kind of going for the Jet Squelcher, but even then, the Jet Squelcher could have noticed me and started shooting at me. And I had plenty of residual damage just from random junk, so was not the smartest play at all. I think I'm going to throw that on the tower. Just kind of have it work. That's not good. Don't like that. Don't like that. Don't like that. I could very easily still just die here. They're going to get a lot of ground from that. We still have someone up front, but I've still got to be careful because lots of sharking if we let them get a bunch of paint control. So that's what we're going to try to avoid while we're just kind of picking them off. Again, very defensive team. We may not be the most aggressive, but as long as we can get them out, we should be fine. I thought I saw something burst over here, but maybe I didn't. I don't think they have any beacons, so that maybe shouldn't be something I'm worrying about. He got blindsided. Stay away from the suction bomb. Some paint over here. I'm going to go ahead and throw that on the tower. Use it as a meat shield at the very least for a few seconds. There tries over there, so I'm going to keep an eye on him, but he seems to be pretty busy. I should have just stayed on the tower there. That wouldn't have reached if I'd stayed on. I thought it was actually on the front side, but it was not. I'm very thankful for the E-liter jumping point, even if he's being attacked. So I'm going to use that as a meat shield. And if you do not have stealth jump, it is nice to just be able to throw your sprinkler down just as something that sometimes works, sometimes does not, depending on the weapon that's shooting at you, depending on the firing speed, their aim, the angle. It really just depends. But if you think you're being shot at or, you know, ambushed or whatever, and again, I'm pushing that way too much because we have no one in front. But if you think someone's going to maybe take some shots at you, it doesn't hurt to ever throw that down because you can refill ink pretty quickly. Since you're having your charged attack anyways, so you don't have to worry about immediately using it in a fight because realistically you can't. Though I'm sure you could try at the very least, but you'd have at least enough ink, I believe, for a full charge even after throwing one of those down. And if you have to keep fighting for that, then you maybe made a couple more mistakes along the way, like I do. We've got 30 seconds left. I don't really see a point to pushing this further. Where are you going to go? Okay, he's going that way. Good job. Yeah, Charger's doing the same thing I was before. Just a little too close. That's probably going to get destroyed as soon as it starts moving back, but that's fine. I don't mind that. It got 2 waves out anyways. Try to get him. He's going to have to back up unless he pops his vacuum. That does happen. All right, very good. Thank you, friend. And they've only got one guy up there. He's now down. I'm just going to jump up there. It didn't matter. Couldn't even get to the tower in time, and we'll take our second win. All right, match number 5, I believe, or 6. I think maybe match numbers. I don't know at this point. Doesn't matter that much. 2 long-range weapons, and then a very aggressive short-range weapon and a painter. So they're probably really going to try to be aggressive. So I'm going to try to just maybe play a bit defensively until I feel like I'm safe. And this is now the time to do that. Stay back. I want to try to maybe get a partial going here just to catch him. If he just jumps up there, that's fine too. Our team's interesting. It's kind of similar. We've got a painter. We've got somewhat long range, then a charger. And triple charger, I guess, in that regard is maybe not the best in the world because we are a bit slower in that regard, but it's also not that terrible because it's a fairly mobile Splatling that's going to be our Slayer top. And then, of course, our Splatter Shot can do the same, but he can also paint fairly well as well. I see this guy. Okay, nope, this is not smart. This is not smart. I just want to get back out and maybe get a better vantage point. No one's over here on the right. I will try to keep an eye out, but I do want to put some paint on the map. That's going to get covered up pretty quickly if we let them. And, you know, just naturally because there's an arrow spray on the team. But it's okay. Yes, that's very good. And I maybe want to try to just bait or let my teammates be the bait. You don't know I'm here, so if I can maybe hit some shots, that would be nice. Never mind. Did get our special out at the very least, so that's okay. Scariest thing is absolutely the Splatoon Stamper, and for good reason. It's just a very, very, very good weapon. So now that he's down, I want to push forward here, but I still have to be wary of the one guy. So just letting the enemy team kind of come to my teammates is going to be very important here. If I can aim correctly, we can get rid of someone. Lots of chip damage flying out at the very least. I'm going to go ahead and block this side maybe a little bit. At the very least, make them think twice about approaching there. Scariest thing is anything that just kind of rushes me. I did not pay attention to the sound effects that were going off, unfortunately. It was a bit of an awkward spot, and that's the, I guess, biggest issue we're having is getting past that little circular point, or not circular, square, far from a circle. But they're just kind of pinching us there, which isn't great. They do have a lot of flank routes and stuff. So I think our goal is going to just try to be holding this. We're down to 50 at the very least, which is good. Help out here. Didn't help out at all. Very good. Oh, that's not good. Okay, well, that happened. I'm backing up. Wait for this to go off. Now fire. They're down to 66, but that's okay. I'm going to throw that at the tower. Our friend takes out the Booyah Bomb. A lot of just random stuff going on here, and that's not great for a longer range Splatling. Even the shorter ones don't like it because your feet are getting constantly covered by just random stuff. AoE, very high DPS weapons as well, just kind of being able to lurk about and then paint Booyah Bombs. It's not the most fun team to fight in the world because there's a lot of AoE on it, and they are balanced. We're going to lose lead off of that, unfortunately. We just did not pile the tower as quick as we could have, which is not great. Again, I'm just having a hard time. And that little ending thing there was just trying to kind of a last-ditch effort to get them off the tower, but it didn't matter in the long run. Again, not really a big fan that we're dying so often, but I'm adding to it, so it's not that great. It is to be expected when they have Dapples and Splatoon Stamper. Like, that's again, to be expected for them to be aggressive. I maybe could have played a little bit more aggressively around their Jet Squelcher. And I maybe really should be trying to use partials a little bit more than I have been. But we'll see if we win this. I highly doubt it. Okay, we may have something going here. I'm not going to speak too soon, though. Yeah. I think we're all going to crumble there. Again, our biggest issue was at those choke points. It was just kind of hard to do much because there's so much junk flying at us. It's not fun, but that's how it is. Okay, this is match number 6. A lot of short-ranged weapons on this team. So we're going to try to avoid what happened last time and letting them get right up to us. I think that maybe will be the goal at the very least. We've lost 2 people already. I do see this fella over here. He's just kind of lurking. I think he's lurking. Maybe not. But our favorite Zuka just kind of comes in and does its job. Also, they have 2 Zukas, which is very interesting. I have plenty of range. He did walk on a surface that you can't really run on very quickly. I don't like this at all. I don't like either of these positions. This is not going well at all. We're already down to 38. Oh, no. No, you don't. No, you don't. I'm gonna act like maybe I ran away. Oh, hello. Hello. Ah, man. We wipe out. That's what I was worried about. Again, very aggressive team. Don't take the short range for granted because, yeah, Zuka. Wonderful, wonderful Zuka. As long as I keep an eye on the Hydra, I think I'll be okay. That worked out surprisingly well. Now all we have to do is guard from this guy. I'm going to use a partial here. Didn't get the kill, but if I had enough ink to actually get the kill there, wouldn't have been protected by the sprinkler. So either way, it worked out okay. Our teammates got the kill anyways. Very good. Again, scariest thing I have to worry about at range is only the Hydra and only the Hydra at all. So as long as I'm making sure I know where he is at, for the most part, I can kind of try to play at range against these other weapons. Maybe I've been full charging a little bit too much. That might be where my downfall is coming from. Unfortunately, they just do really have good defense from their Hydra. So I'm struggling really hardly just to maybe try to help out there. And since we're not being able to push forward too much, that 2-point difference is really stinging here, unfortunately. I think the biggest thing that's hurting here is just the sheer amount of Ninja Squid on their team. They've got 2. Again, it's very hard sometimes. If I maybe used Wave Breaker a little bit more, and that means having to stay alive, of course, it maybe would have been fine. I may lose right here. I'm not sure. Oh, hold on. Hold on. We may actually get this. I'd be very surprised if we do. Oh, we may get it. No! When he got on the tower, it stopped the counter, so we didn't have enough people actually showering the tower there. It was so close to. That's not good. But we'll get it eventually. It just really has to line up, unfortunately. All right, let's try to be maybe quiet and hopefully I've been quiet before. It didn't really work out very well, but maybe I can get something going here and rolling because it's not been going well at all. And we are fighting a charger, which isn't the best in the world, especially on this map, which is, you know, kind of shaped a little oddly. We are in control, so that's going well at the very least. Got a flanker on the right. I'll try to take care of him. If he just runs straight to my fire, that's great as well, but you can't really expect that in S+. Sometimes they will, but you don't want to count on that. Certainly do not get used to it because it's not going to happen unless you just completely blindside someone. Get him, there we go. Like there, he ran into it, but he couldn't necessarily see it. He could have anticipated it, but not always is that going to be the case. And especially if you get them into panic mode, then they will just start playing badly. What was that? And where did that come from? I have no idea. They have one Ninja Squid user, which is their splatter scope. Not quite sure why, but that's okay with me, honestly. Alright, I'm just going to try to play around this. Use my little wall here. Alright, he shoots straight through it. It probably pierces. I do find that weird that it maybe doesn't, or it does. I wonder, I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I'm sure it does. That seems to be a balancing thing. If it doesn't though, then he just kind of shot through that little tiny gap, which, fair enough. All right, they are in control now with their sploosh. Didn't even notice they had that. Again, more of a balanced team. Not the best paint. They may struggle on that front. I know sploosh is decent at painting, but it can't really paint very far. So that may be where we can actually kind of trap them from actually maybe getting some kills. Obviously, the range blaster is still a slayer, and so is the other weapon. But if they don't have room to move, my goodness, then they won't be that effective. We're going to try this little tactic again and see if it works. Again, I'm sure it actually pierces, but you never know. But I'm going to try to do the thing I said before where you stay out of their range and just kind of try to let your teammates bring up that little line you're trying to toe, and I will just try to paint for them. That's going to be the best thing I can do, especially if there's no shorter range teammates of theirs up front. And as you can see, it's working out fairly nicely here with our aggressive teammates. I like throwing that on tower because for most towers in the game, that will still reach down to the floor, but there are some that it won't. The taller ones, just in general. However, it is nice on these shorter ones that will just kind of reach the ground, so it will kind of survey the area around you, even if someone's just lurking or something right under you. If he wants to do that to me, our teammate maybe can catch him. There we go. Good job. I'm going to keep this held. I don't really have much of a reason to use it until they actually get some paint down. If they climb that and be aggressive, they will regret it. And they have climbed it. However, I'm not making them regret it at all. I don't like this. I'm going to just back out fully. And I see someone who moved over here. I'm not going to let him get away with that. He may still be working, so I'm going to try to find him. He jumps out just in time for that to not mark him, though. So, bit of a waste, but at the very least, I pressured him. Very good. I'm very surprised that even worked out as well as it did. Again, this match is going really well, so sometimes it'll go good and sometimes it won't. It may be because of the map. Yelltail is not a great map, but we've also lost on this map too, so at least I think we have. I have terrible memory. All right, keep this guy at range. I'm going to go ahead. That's going to get destroyed. Yeah, not smart on my part, but we'll take care of this guy. I'm going to play this cover. If they rush it, I'm going to actually take him out. Now, that's where they would rush at you if they're trying to go to tower and panic, like I said before. So that's where you can kind of cover their distance that they're trying to run or whatever. And also just any paths that they have that are slim or short, you can kind of cover those with your fire. That's what pre-firing is. And you'll be able to take them out occasionally if you're actually good at aiming, unlike me. And there's 3 wins with the Heavy Splatling. Didn't go that great. Got 4 losses compared to the 3 wins. However, I think you can tell it's not a bad weapon. It's just the user that's not good at it. Things started going better when I actually started using partial charges more. I was still using them at the start. However, again, they've buffed the weapon, and I believe it was on the end of partial charges actually being stronger than they were before. So it's actually a lot more useful, and it helps you in skirmishes and whatever. Just, you know, having to pull that out immediately if someone kind of ambushes you or whatnot. It is a lot more useful there than it used to be. RNG is still a big thing. However, there's a lot of shots coming out. So as long as your aim is on point and you're accounting for the shot velocity, you should be fine. Either way, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider leaving a comment below and maybe even consider subscribing. Until next time.